Hello members. Less is more. Not words you're likely to hear being used as a pickup line when you're out in the town on a Friday night, but an approach worth considering when it comes to punting. I got an email today from James. He's been following me on and off for a fair while now, and I appreciated his comments. Thanks James for getting in touch. Why, he asked, why oh why was I offering selections in 8 races on a Thursday in late May, when I'd previously warned members that there would be fewer selections each day? And why did they include tips in Class 5 maidens? After all, had I not also said I would no longer be touching Class 5 and Class 6 races? Yes, James was right. I had said both those things. But sadly, I am not in charge of racing and what fixtures are put before us these days. It's bad enough that I've had to cut back the guaranteed number of days I offer tips to 4. Purely due to the sheer number of low-grade racing that's now on offer to us. Members pay for a service, and I have reason to suspect that if I only offered, let's say, 2 or 3 tips a week, there would be mutiny in the ranks. What say you? As I speak, Teshar has just won a Class 5 maiden for us. Yes, get in. I do like to try and find a winning newcomer. I always have. Maiden races are, of course, a step into the unknown. When a race is made up of several newcomers, we can't know which of those will understand what's expected of them first time out. Teshar, being related to the great See the Stars, did, and that's why I made a selection in that Class 5 maiden, the first race at Haydock Park. With maidens, you'll win some, you'll lose some. I certainly do not touch them if that maiden race is made up of horses that do not have a good pedigree, or hail from stables that have a poor record in such races. However, Teshar had a good pedigree, came from a good stable, and Frankie Dettori was doing the steering. And, crucially for me, the opposition didn't appear to be up to much. The favourite was one that had come second in his last 2 outings, and, what do you know, came second again. This time well beaten by our quite impressive 4-1 winner, Teshar. I will not be offering selections in claimers and sellers, and I am trying to avoid Class 5 or Class 6 handicaps, but I will try luck in a maiden from time to time. After all, as I was reminded only recently, I've tipped horses to win first time out that have subsequently gone on to win some very top class races, both on the flat and the jumps. As for quantity, well, some days there are more races that attract my attention than on others. I didn't go into the analysis of Thursday's racing, expecting there to be 8 races of interest, but, rightly or wrongly, time will tell, there were. But you don't have to bet in every race. Now let me stress that again. You don't have to bet in every race. Indeed, I would say you shouldn't. Let me explain. What I offer members is this. I take many hours to study form at most race meetings that are on offer on any given day. From those, I choose to analyse the races that may attract my money. I stress may attract my money. I try to put across in what I write how confident I am about those selections. I then make a selection, or when one is available, I may also offer an each way selection in addition to a win tip in the same race. That's because some members only like to bet each way on each way picks at bigger prices. I try to service all needs. Now, I am not saying, repeat, not saying you must bet, repeat, must bet on any of those selections. You don't have to. You can ignore everything I've said. If you like, you might have better ideas. And I am certainly not saying you should bet on all of them. I am your guide. I'm not holding a gun to your head. I provide you with the tastiest looking dishes on the menu as I see it, and whether you choose to eat them or not, that's up to you. Which ones you choose to eat, it's up to you. With punting comes personal responsibility. Personally, I judge whether or not a bet is worth it based on my confidence in that selection, and crucially the price. Sometimes on the day of racing the price on one I've selected gets smaller and I don't touch it for that reason. On other days I notice the price has got bigger, and if I've not already taken the early price the night before, which is usually the case, then I will take that bigger price. Teshar went out to 9-2 in the minutes, 3, 4, 5 minutes before the off. It went out to 9-2. So having already backed that one at 7-2 the night before, I got on again at 9-2. That's how confident I felt, and that's why I napped the selection. What's that mean? Ask some members. What's nap all about? In relation to racing, nap is the one selection per day a tipster will offer. Newspaper tipsters may well offer a nap and then a so-called next best bet. Some days when I fancy one or more to either win or as an each-way bet, I put nap, the word nap, in brackets after the selection on the post and on your email. You can take it that those are my favoured bets of the day from my selections. Let's go back again to Thursday, May the 28th. Teshar was a win nap and duly won at 4-1. Long-term followers will know that in the past I've experimented with the best way to highlight my favourite tips on any given day. I tried placing at the foot of each email to members the words VG tips and then my 1, 2 or perhaps 3 favourite bets of the day. Sometimes that worked wonders. Sometimes that worked like a dream. On other days, those ones I highlighted as VG tips did not deliver, whereas those I had made my selections in other races all won, all returned profit. Oh my word. I can still recall the annoyance of some members when that happened. Because some days, as a tipster, even when you win, you can't win. What about days when there are no naps, Vernon? What then? When you don't place nap in a brackets after the name of a selection. Well, that means this. That horse would be my selection in the race I have just analysed. I'll likely bet on it, possibly, depends on the price. But I'm not so confident in it that I would want to suggest it as a very good thing. I would not throw the kitchen sink at it. I may well have a bet on that selection, but I will be cautious about how much I staked, and I might play each way rather than to win, even if the price is a fairly small one. How much to stake is another question altogether, and I'm often asked that one. I did write about that subject to members very recently, and I'll address it again in a forthcoming video. But next up will be a preview of the forthcoming Oaks and Derby races at Epsom. I love the Oaks, fillies at their best. I have my fancies for that race and also for the Derby. You'll only receive my definitive selections as usual the day before. That's because I want to see if this heat wave some forecasters are talking about does arrive in England, in which case they may well be running on good to firm ground on the Epsom Downs. In that next video I'll tell you where my anti-post money went for the Oaks and the Derby. Bets placed days, sometimes weeks ago. And finally, I'd simply like to say thank you. Thank you for being a member. People don't say thank you nearly enough these days, do they? Many of you stuck with me through thick and thin, and I thank you for that. Remember, profitable punting is a marathon and not a sprint. Stick with it. See you soon.